Welcome to Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies. My name is Becks Perfect.
I'm Van Collar. Boom! It's movie time. I'm happy to be back with you talking movies because obviously we're now in a lockdown again, and it's nice to have something cinematic to look forward to. And also, it's the 250th Off Screen.
It is, and what a way to celebrate in Lockdown 2.0. But actually, do you know what? It's funny because I think something like this is never more prevalent than when we're in a scenario where actually we need stuff to keep us entertained. You know, we've got everything for you from the new releases that are out on digital through to what you can watch on your telly box and even what is streaming online. So guys, don't worry, Lockdown 2.0, Van and I have got you covered. So, should we kick off with some of the new releases on digital?
Yes, so I am overjoyed to be able to talk about this one because I expected nothing of this. I knew nothing beyond sort of a basic like log line. It's a elderly Chinese grandma in America. And I'm like, okay, and it somehow involves gambling. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that'll be very entertaining. I won't get excited about that.
This is Lucky Grandma, which is available on digital today. And Van, I mean, this is a wild ride.
This stars Sai Chin from the Joy Luck Club, and it's mostly in foreign language, so it is largely subtitled, so no clip, sadly. She is a chain-smoking grandma, Grandma Wong, who has a passion for gambling. She also has something of a curmudgeonly, very comedic attitude towards the world. She's very droll. She's almost basically a Bill Murray character. And she goes to a casino, has a poor night at the tables, and this is sort of a part of one of those community trips that old folks go on.
Yeah, to like Atlantic City.
Taken in a bus. On the way back, the guy who's next to her on the bus slumps over and dies, leaves her a bag of money, which she, of course, just opportunistically then takes. And she then finds herself being pursued by, evidently, the money's true owners and has to seek protection from a local sort of street gang herself, taking on a sort of doughy but good-hearted protector. It's bonkers. I absolutely loved it. I genuinely thought it was great. So you saw this as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And I have to say, like, what I love about her is she's so brazen and she's so, like, not what you'd expect Grandma Wong to be like. She is grumpy as, and I was like, when we say it's called Lucky Grandma, it's like, no, it should be Grumpy Grandma or Bad Grandma, you know? It's like, there's so much going on.
Have we had Bad Grandma yet? Is that
I don't know. We've got Bad Grandpa, which is, I'd say, a terrible film with Robert De Niro.
I'm sure they'll cover it at some point.
Yeah. I loved it. I think it was smart, funny, very different, and as you say, bonkers.
That's it. I mean, it is this madcap and quite broad comedy, but it's wrapped up in this veneer as well of being like a respectable, quote unquote, proper drama. Like it's a proper drama being visually told before you, but then it just goes off in these wild comedic directions. It's got this sort of, it's like one sort of charming but quite aggressive energy to it. Like it's just, popping at the seams, like it really wants to lash out at you. It's kind of bold and cheeky at the same time. I thought it was great fun. It reminded me of something. You make this in the late 1990s with like Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Be like Judi Dench and someone like a young Seth Rogen back in like 1999.
It's like a grandma caper. Like, that's kind of how I describe it. But I think, a lot of fun. It's kind of it's a diamond in the rough with this. You like you said, you went into this expecting nothing, and we were like debating what do we want to cover in the new releases this week, and you're like, oh well, we could try Lucky Grandma, and it's like we lucked out trying Lucky Grandma, and
we got lucky.
Yeah, there we go. So look, that is available on digital from today. If you can catch hold of it, it is well worth your time. Do not worry about the subtitles. It is like Parasite, engaging enough that you just see beyond that and you enjoy it for what it is.
I've still yet to rewatch Parasite. I keep seeing it on my Amazon Prime because it's there now. I keep seeing it on the, movies we think you'd like list. I'm like, oh, well, of course I like this. Come on, I'm the easiest guy to like Parasite. I keep meaning to rewatch it. I've just not had the pleasure yet. I'm going to treat myself this weekend. That's what I'm going to do.
Treat yourself, absolutely. Now, speaking of treating yourself, I'm not sure if this is going to be as much of a treat, but the first movie of this, I suppose now mini franchise, is one that I really loved, which was the original movie was called A Street Cat Named Bob, a really heartwarming true story about a lovely street cat who befriended a guy, and they became lifelong pals until actually in real life poor old Bob passed away not too long ago. But we now have a sequel, unbelievably. I don't know why, and it's just in time for Christmas. It's called A Christmas Gift from Bob. I haven't seen this one because I didn't really want to taint the first one. You took the bullet. How was it?
Well, taint the first one. It does, Rebecca. Wow, okay. Believe me, this is less a Christmas gift, more a lump of coal. Just very, very fluffy coal. It's mostly told in flashback, so it's kind of weird anyway, in that we get sort of a flashback told sequel to the movie we saw before, which seems kind of odd, like we could have just skipped that step. And it is effectively a point in which James Bowen, who's the ex-addict busker, who is also, best friends with Bob the cat, and obviously has turned his life around because of Bob the cat, has now become something of a sort of minor local celebrity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not really getting anything tangibly from it, so he's still quite down on his luck, and he's sort of, living at home with no heating on, and he's barely scraping by, like feeding himself and Bob. And at the same time, he comes into the crosshairs of the local animal control RSPCA types who feel that Bob is in unsuitable circumstances and should be removed from James immediately. And this is all happening around the time of Christmas. And I'll let this clip aptly demonstrate how clearly they're going to hammer that point home for you.
That cat does not look happy to me.
Can you control your dog?
We wanted to chat to you about a couple of concerns.
You can't take him away from me.
If it's in the cat's best interest.
If a guy who works on the street is being separated from his cat at Christmas, it's got to be done by the book.
You gotta help me. They're threatening to take Bob away. Maybe they should.
Anyone who knows the man and the cat, get in touch.
You have proved your love 100 times over.
It's not normal for a cat to be out in the streets.
James gives Bob the choice to stay at home or go out with him. And every day, Bob goes with him.
Just listening to that clip, I would say it sounds all right. It sounds like what I'd expect to get from good old Bob. What makes it tumble down into the depths of bad Santa, should we say?
Oh
no! I don't mean that. I mean, I don't mean the film. I mean, as in, like, you're a naughty kid.
Santa's naughty list.
Yeah.
No, for me, I mean, actually, to be fair, if we're being really honest, if you're one of the people who was only watching A Street Cat Named Bob for Bob, then you're going to enjoy this just as much anyway, because the Bob character as he is still, exactly as prominent and exactly as staged as he was before. The issue is obviously of the human drama story, which last time around, was quite mawkish and cloy and and just, it was
schmaltz. Yeah.
It was schmaltz. The icing was literally drizzling over the sides of it. It was all.
It was an exceptional episode.
It really was. It was. But there was, at the same time, though, there was this faint element of respectability and charm to it.
Yes.
That made it just about sort of unironically, basically ironically enjoyable. Because the whole thing about this film is it's now unironic. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't think it's a particularly good movie, but I appreciate that anyone watching this movie is probably going to be watching it for Bob the Cat, and that's absolutely fine. I will point out, though, it is directed by Charles Martin Smith, okay, who's replacing, I think it was Roger Spottiswoode, did the last one, the Bond director, Roger Spottiswoode. Charles Martin Smith. Do you know what Charles Martin Smith directed in the last few years? This is genuinely true.
Enlighten me.
He directed the Dolphin Tale movies. True story, as well as A Dog's Way. Is it A Dog's Journey or A Dog's Way Home? One of those two. And then you see this and you think that hiring absolutely makes sense, because that's where this sort of would-be franchise is now going to sit.
Would you say that this is a paycheck movie? They've just shown up, They're getting paid for it. There's no heart to it. They're
I
cashing
think
in.
I think everyone involved in this is of such stature that you probably could have made this movie for, like, let's say £5 million.
Okay.
And it's merchandisable enough on the back of Bob the Cat. Unfortunately, especially so now that he's, tragically been taken from us as well. Incidentally, that is a horrible story. I had no idea.
How many thumbs did you give this one?
Objectively, I'd be like half a thumb. As a film, it's a half a thumb. But you know what? If I'm going to watch Bob the Cat, if I want to watch Bob the Cat, which is why I'm watching this, well, then it's probably 2.
So it's down to personal preference.
You have to, you have to judge these things on their own merits. This is an objectively terrible movie. But if you judge it on its own merits, it's a two thumb movie. I'm sorry, it is.
Oh, wow. Well, I thought I'd lift it up and say, look, this is a half thumb movie. So let's end this segment on a high. And how many thumbs would you give Lucky Grandma?
Lucky Grandma's a whopping 2 thumbs for me, but that's on any merit. That's unobjective. That's within the universe. Lucky Grandma is just superb. I had a blast. Welcome back to Off Screen, and now keeping you firmly in the realms of the Freeview arena, because who doesn't love a good non-cable subscription? I mean, really, is there a point in paying for cable in, like, the era of streaming? But anyway, beside the point. Freeview exists, we ought to pay a TV license for it, we might as well get some cinema out of it. Where better to start than one of the great cinematic action romps, literally cinematic, it is about cinema, action romps of the early 1990s. It was meant to be the high point of an already exemplary blockbuster career. It wound up almost completely derailing it. It is, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1993 summer blockbuster effort, Last Action Hero. Do you remember this one, Becks?
Yes, I do, and I actually really enjoyed it.
That's the thing. It's one of those movies that bombed critically and commercially.
Yeah.
Didn't quite find its audience, but in recent years, because it was a sort of parody of the genre, it was very self-aware, has found a whole new audience now that people are generally more ironic in their sense of entertainment. People are generally more self-aware and questioning and meta about everything, so it's since become a sort of underappreciated gem, I think.
I have a very vivid memory of me being yay high and going into my local video store with my dad.
This is sort of an action fantasy romp that's sort of weirdly aimed at both teenagers and adults at the same time. It's very strange. It's a very crossover theme. It follows Danny Madigan, played by Austin O'Brien, in one of what I think is one of his only 4 film roles ever, and then he just stopped. As Danny Madigan, he's a young child of divorce. His mum works nights. He sneaks off to the movies, which is his one true passion, and one night finds himself sucked into the screen via way of a magic ticket during a preview of the new entry of the action cinema Jack Slater franchise, which is like this cop action Lethal Weapon type series in which Arnold Schwarzenegger is the world's single greatest renegade LAPD detective. And it sounds an awful lot like this.
The bad guys are in there.
You know something? I think you should be wearing this.
I don't think I've earned it yet.
You don't understand. You just solved the entire case. You just revolutionized the entire history of police training. I mean, all these years at the academy, studying human character, psyche of the terrorist, fingerprint analysis, all the courses that I've taken in surveillance, hostage negotiation, in criminal psychology. I mean, all I had to do is just drive around the neighborhood and point my finger at the house and say, the bad guys ain't there.
You think you're funny, don't you?
I know I am. I'm the famous comedian Arnold Braunschweiger.
Schwarzenegger.
Gesundheit.
Do you know what? If there was ever an Oscar nomination for Arnold Schwarzenegger, that would have been his clip.
That would have been,
Yeah.
A pretty exemplary moment, isn't it?
So this, for me, sits up there with, I think, some lost classics, like Super Mario Brothers and films like that, of the 90s.
Ooh, let's never call Super Mario Brothers a classic of any kind.
I loved it. I loved it.
You need to seek professional. Wow. No.
No. I'm a massive Nintendo fan, and I'm a massive Super Mario fan, and Dennis Hopper as King Koopa.
Like, okay, I am a ride or die Samantha Davis fan, but no. I'm sorry,
we'll agree to disagree on this
Super
one.
Mario Brothers.
Oh, I really enjoyed
Even Samantha
it.
Mathers can't save it, then I'm sorry, no.
The late great
and
Bob
it even
Hoskins,
has...
John Leguizamo, come on.
And now it even has Johnny Legs, man. Even Johnny Legs can't save Super Mario. Anyway, Last Action Hero's really good.
No, so I feel like this is like 90s bonkersness, like taking that similar concept of what they did with the Super Mario Brothers, of just throwing you into something fantastical but making it feel real at the same time, like the reality of it. And I think it only worked for some people in the 90s, and this is where this kind of falls into. I think it was enjoyable. I like the fact that it's now got a new appreciation, albeit ironic. But I would revisit this now, and I would definitely see what it's like. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger must have got better with acting over time, because that just sounded horrendous. So for that reason.
It is. It really is peak. It was very representative of the sort of the action image of Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time. It was theoretically the ideal Arnold Schwarzenegger project for that specific time. But the problem is the narrative itself is just a bit too meta for it to have been appreciated in its time. It's noticeable that like a decade later, when things like Shane Black are more commonplace, that changes. Once you get past Scream and things like that, a lot of that changes.
I was going to say, it's got Shane Black who's written the screenplay here, so anyone who doesn't know Shane Black...
Well, that's the thing. He's one of the founding guys of this movement. He's the guy behind Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And also, the thing is that his original screenplay got so watered down by the time they actually made this movie that it bears no resemblance to what his original work was.
That's a shame in itself. Let's just say it's a fun movie. It's worth your Saturday night if there's nothing else for you to do, because there isn't, because we're in lockdown 2.0. So why not take a trip down memory lane, go and see some vintage Arnie, not necessarily at his best, but you can definitely lose yourself in the weird world that is The Last Action Hero.
So on to another kind of action hero then. Do you like a good pirate, Becks?
I do, especially when it's voiced by... Is it voiced by Hugh Grant in this one?
It is. So I think this is an Aardman project.
Yeah.
This is one of the sort of less less popular. I think it was decently well received, but it wasn't very popular. Aardman projects is Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists, which features Hugh Grant as the pirate captain. His name is Pirate Captain. They call me Pirate Captain. That's exactly how he describes it. And he is the leader of a ragtag, band of misfits. The movie's actually called Band of Misfits in other territories, who include people like Martin Freeman, and they come into the path of Darwin as voiced by David Tennant, who basically notices that their parrot is in fact the world's last surviving dodo, and turns them into basically overnight celebrities. And it's all part of a scheme the pirate captain undertakes in order to become Pirate Captain of the Year. However, to get there, he has to rely on his misfit crew, all of whom have more prescient matters to deal with.
It's the looting.
It's the cutlasses.
It's the looting.
It's the cutlasses.
Looting!
Cutlasses!
Looting! Sorry, Captain.
We were just discussing what's the best bit about being a pirate.
Oh, you were you? I suggested it might be the looting.
Whereas I contend it's the shiny cutlasses.
And I thought it was a chance to catch exotic diseases.
I'm disappointed that you said that this wasn't well received, because I found this hilarious. I remember watching this and really enjoying it. It's disappointing that it didn't do as well as it possibly could have done. Now, this came out in 2012, right? So England was on a high, This is the year in which we would have enjoyed and relished in something like this, and also with all the stalwart actors that voice all the roles. It is very funny. And it's a good job from Hugh Grant leading the pack on this as well.
It is. We tend to forget about this one in Hugh Grant's repertoire. Like, everyone seems to have this weird image like he popped out in Paddington 2 and just surprised everyone. Surprise, I can do comedy now. Now I'll go and do Guy Ritchie. And we all seem to forget that he'd done this, that he'd returned to darker edged comedy rather than sort of staying in the sort of rom-com terrain we knew him from. He's a very strange guy as far as playing his own brand goes. I can't figure out if he wants to indulge it or subvert it, and it seems to be a mixture of both. But with Pirates and Adventure with Scientists, I think he's just really good fun. And there's moments where he's bouncing off, for instance, like Jeremy Piven and people like that. You just think, this is so weird. I kind of love it, but the fact that it's Aardman allows them to pull it off.
Well,
Hats off to them, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the magic of Aardman and everything that it does. So, if you've followed Aardman over the years, I think they just keep getting better and better. But this is one that's up there for me. It's on perfect timing as well. Sunday, ITV2, 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Sit around with your kids. Go and enjoy this, because this is going to be fun for all the family. And, it's real joy to watch. And, go and support our great British cinema in the way that we can right now.
So on to Monday then. Monday evening, one for the adults then. This is Inception on ITV4 at 9 p.m. We've talked a lot about Inception in recent months because of Tenet, obviously, as well. Suffice it to say, the cut-down version of this, for time reasons as well, we'll just say it is a mind heist movie in which Leonardo DiCaprio and his elite team of varying tech heist artists are enlisted to hack into the mind of Cillian Murphy during an international flight to basically implant the idea to sell his dad's company.
He hasn't got any surgery scheduled, no dental, nothing.
Wasn't he supposed to have a knee operation?
Nothing. Nothing that I've put him under for anyway, and we need at least a good 10 hours.
Sydney to Los Angeles. One of the longest flights in the world. He makes it every 2 weeks.
He must be flying private then.
Not if there were unexpected maintenance with his plane.
It would have to be a 747.
Why is that?
So in a 747, the pilot's up top, and the first class cabin's in the nose, so no one would walk through. But you'd have to buy out the entire cabin and the first class flight attendant.
I bought the airline. It seemed neater.
It's a modern classic, I think, Inception. It is a movie that you can read 7 ways from Sunday. I think it's far less complex than everyone thinks it is. But I think you'd say it's a pretty rousing sort of action thriller from Christopher Nolan, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will also say, bad ending! That's the other thing. It is one of those conundrums of cinema which people walk out and go, huh? Tenet probably more so now, where everyone's like, I really don't get it. Look, enjoyable nonetheless. Totally builds Christopher Nolan's repertoire as the man that mind bends you when you are watching one of his movies, and this is one of his most loved. So, it's on Sunday night, ITV4, 9 o'clock, perfect time. Sorry, it's on Monday night, apologies.
Monday night.
Yeah, God, I'm getting it.
We're in lockdown again. Time has no meaning here. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's perfect for Inception then. So ITV4, exactly. 9 p.m. on Monday. It is a good thing to watch if you've got nothing else to do. See if you can work it out again. That's all I'd say. Welcome back to Off Screen. We are keeping you on the couch with your second half of the week because we are making sure that you are watching all of the top movies that are available for you on Freeview on your telly box. So we are now at Tuesday, and it's a sinister, scary Tuesday for you. Who would have thought Halloween has already passed? We are starting off with What Lies Beneath on 5-star, 10:35 p.m. Oh, a good time for this. This is the Robert Zemeckis horror movie starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford. And it follows a lady called Claire who moves in with Norman to his old sinister house, and she experiences some disturbing supernatural activity.
Are you angry with me?
What?
Maybe you resent how busy I've been.
No.
You know what I've got at stake with this paper. You know how important this is to me. I can't help but feel that somehow you're trying to sabotage me. You're trying to hurt me somehow.
Norman, this isn't about you. Something is happening to me, and it's not to get even, and it's not some warped bid for attention. Something is happening in our house, whether you like it or not.
So, amazing cast on this one, which is obviously, you've got Michelle Pfeiffer in the lead as Claire, you've got Harrison Ford as Norman, veritable who's who supporting cast members as well, but it's a really sort of grand, old-fashioned, very sort of, chic in the 90s, a couple of character actors on the poster, decent art, made for adults concept thriller. And this was made by Zemeckis during a break in filming in Castaway. So the way that had worked was that Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis had filmed the first half of Castaway, basically all the pre-island stuff when Tom Hanks is obviously his normal everyday weight. Zemeckis had then taken the entire crew from Castaway over to go and film What Lies Beneath, and then took the crew back to film the second half of Castaway, in which Tom Hanks had then lost a lot of weight. So that's how this actually came to be. So the entirety of What Lies Beneath is made in the time it takes Tom Hanks to diet from size A to size B. That's something you should always bear in mind with this movie. The other thing was, it became kind of weirdly iconic for its time. It was one of the first movies I can remember being released that I would describe as being memeable in a time before we really had what we now think of as memes. Like the image of Michelle Pfeiffer in the red dress wound up getting used in one of the early Scary Movie, either 1 or 2 or something like that, the Your Wife sequence. I think that got done in a few things. It became sort of memorable, I think, for its twist, and this came out around the time of sort of Shyamalan and things like that, so it sort of slid in riding that wave, even though it was a much more studio-driven, mainstream and conventional film.
I also think that it's got one of the most iconic posters as well, with the bathtub with the hand over it as well. Considering that this was made 20 years ago, it's still a very prevalent poster, so some great marketing behind that. Look, it's an all-round great movie, and you're right, it replicates kind of the feels of what you'd expect from the 90s when it comes to horror and thrillers.
I know why you like this poster. It's because the poster for this oddly resembles a point horror book cover. That's exactly why.
How dare you reach into my mind and know exactly why that is the case. But yeah, most probably, yeah. Overall, it's a really, really solid film. Great performances. This is kind of the heyday for Michelle Pfeiffer, for Harrison Ford. And it tips us into a completely new sort of decade of movies, and I think it kicks off the 2000s very, very well.
Absolutely. So on to something, what we describe as a bit more conventional by today's standard for Wednesday night's entertainment. Channel 5, 10:45 p.m. It's part of the well-esteemed Liam Neeson on a ... series. That we've had the plane, the train, the automobile. We've had the submarine.
And the
snowplow. But anyway, this is the train one. This is Liam Neeson on a train. So this is 2018's The Commuter, in which he's a man laid off from his job, gets on the commuter train home, and whilst he's sort of sat on the journey, Vera Farmiga sits down opposite him and basically issues him a challenge that for a specific amount of money, all he has to do is find one person, one random stranger on this train who she only has a rough description for.
I don't understand.
Someone on this train does not belong. All you have to do is find them. That's it. This person is carrying a bag. You don't know what it looks like, but inside that bag is something they have stolen. This person goes by the name of Prin. It's not a real name. They will be on this train until Cold Spring. You find them, you find the bag, that $100,000 is yours. Don't leave the train before finding the bag. Don't tell anyone about this offer.
Wait a minute.
Simple.
I thought this was hypothetical.
To be fair to this film, actually, I mean, it is, it's decent. It's about as decent as all these standard Liam Neeson actioners are these days. But by the standards of the standard Liam Neeson actioner, this at least attempts to be quite Hitchcockian at points. And I actually respected that. It goes big. It really goes for it. It knows, it knows the limitations of the standard Liam Neeson actioner. It knows why you're there and why you've paid the ticket price. And it's going to deliver on that, but it's going to have a little Hitchcockian fun while it's at it. So it's in the upper echelon of these Liam Neeson actioners. Obviously there's Taken, that's pretty much the only good one, and then all of them after that have been quite subpar. But it's
enjoyable.
This one's got ambition, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
So that's a perfectly enjoyable timing as well. 10:45, probably set you off to sleep about 12:15 that night. But it's not like any of us have to be up early for the next month. However, on Thursday night, 9 p.m, ITV4, Becks, Do you fancy a visit to the future?
Do you know what? I would encourage everyone to clear their diary to go and visit the future with this one, because we are talking about, I remember that year, it's my only 5-star film of the year when I reviewed it. Yeah, it is Blade Runner 2049 on ITV4, 9 p.m. on Thursday. This is a masterpiece in itself, and critics loved it. The audience, it didn't make the money. It was one way or the other, wasn't it?
It didn't make any money. It didn't make any money with this one. I think it was critically incredibly well received. I think everybody respected the hell out of it. But I'll debate it after we do the clip and the setup and everything. But there are issues surrounding that to begin with. So this obviously is the sequel to Blade Runner, so 1981's Blade Runner by Ridley Scott. You know, the iconic work that was, which itself was an adaptation of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Follows Deckard, the bounty hunter, effectively hunting the replicants, synthetic people, effectively, androids. We now pick up the story 30 years later in 2049 in Los Angeles. We have a new character. I think he's K, Detective K, played by Ryan Gosling. Officer K. Special K. Ryan Gosling, Special K. Who is the synthetic who's basically tasked with a new case that sees him basically burrowing into the secret underworld that has now erupted around the synthetics, and how that might come to change all of society as a whole, and how it might even be important enough to bring back Harrison Ford to an iconic franchise.
Are they all constructed, or do you ever use ones that are real?
It's illegal to use real memories, officer.
How can you tell the difference? Can you tell if something really happened?
They all think it's about more detail. But that's not how memory works. You recall with our feelings. Anything real should be a mess.
I'm not sure how this is going to translate onto the small screen, because when we went to review this, we were in an impact cinema. It was, you could feel like the bass of like when his spaceship would like land, like it would like hummer through your body. It was quite incredible. And everything about this is an immersive experience. And this is what makes this like an all-round 5-star film. It's got a great narrative. It's got brilliant performances. It's got an incredible setting and view, and the cinematography as you'd expect from Ridley Scott and from what you'd expect from the original Blade Runner. It is amazing.
Well, that's it. I mean, because this had Roger Deakins on cinematography, and it was like nothing you'd ever seen before. Denis Villeneuve bringing that very cerebral way he has of seeing his films to the idea of an originally created sequel to Blade Runner, rather than, because obviously I think there have been attempts to do a sequel to Blade Runner in novel form.
Yeah,
so I know there was a novel in the late 90s at least that I believe was taken as the official sequel. And they didn't do that. They went in their own original direction. They brought in new characters. They brought in Robin Wright, Jared Leto. There's an incredible resurrection via CGI, which has to be seen to be believed. I think it's a genuine masterpiece. I wish all sequels were this good. But you can see it for yourself on ITV4, 9 p.m. on Thursday. It didn't make as much money as they wanted it to, but how could it? Because Blade Runner was never a commercial hit. It was, however, an artistic hit, and you can see exactly why in this absolutely brilliant sequel. Moving on to more unappreciated movies, meanwhile, though. Friday night, I've got this is a banger to send you out for the weekend. Well, keep you in for the weekend at any rate, Becks. How do you feel about a good body swap movie on ITV2, 9 p.m? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be up for this, particularly with who is involved in it, but I've never actually seen The Change-Up. This is starring Ryan Reynolds and also Jason Bateman, two people who I very much enjoy watching on screen together. This sounds right up my street. Perfect popcorn movie for a Friday night.
It absolutely is. It is the movie. It's the movie you think it is. If you just have those two actors and word body swap inserted, which is one of them is the sort of put upon dad, the sort of suburban
married lawyer
type, goes to work. Yeah, married lawyer. The other one is a sort of freewheeling sort of ladies' man type. 3 guesses which one plays which. They get drunk one night, pee into a fountain at the same time as I think a lightning strike, and swap bodies, and then have to assume one another's lives. You can imagine how this then plays out.
This is called a suit.
one every day, along with a necktie, black, not white socks, dress shoes, not shower sandals.
Please.
Of course,
These
underwear.
are awful. Oh, come on.
No more commando. Mitch, you're a grown-ass man. Put them on. This is called a schedule. Tells you everything you need to do each day. Pickups, drop-offs, activities, play dates, doctor's appointments, etc. You'll notice that there are approximately 50 hours worth of obligations on any given day. Make it work. This is called a grocery store. People buy food here. It's part of your responsibilities. Before heading to the market, always call Jamie and ask her if she needs anything first. In fact, before making any decision in your life, no matter how small, call your wife first. Think of yourself as a brain-damaged mule, lost in the desert, helpless, dumb, and in constant need of direction. Never take the initiative, never strike out on your own, and never deviate from the plan. Why? Because you're a brain-damaged mule, and you are lost in the damn desert.
I actually think this is really unappreciated. It's just fun for what it is. He doesn't have any aspirations above being a sort of just a, 95 to 100 minute long bro humor body swap movie. It's not too grotesque in its sort of toxic masculinity or anything, so it's perfectly enjoyable all around the gender spectrum, I think. There's some questionable moments involving the grotesque way they sort of vilify a pregnant Leslie Mann. But,
yeah, okay, fine. I think also if you're just listening to that clip as well, you're getting what you want from Ryan Reynolds in this. He is...
Oh, totally.
Yeah, he's doing what he does best. So look, that sounds right up my street for a Friday night. That will round off the week nicely. So you've got a good selection of movies this week on your Freeview and your telly box, should you want to watch it, ending up with ITV2 9 o'clock, the change up there for you. So my big pick for the week, though, I'd say clear your diaries, watch Blade Runner 2049. There is probably nothing that is going to beat that this week, but the rest of the week you've got sorted anyway.
Welcome back to Off Screen for one last ride. This time, well, there's not really anything out on home platforms such as DVD and Blu-ray this week, Becks, I'm afraid, because...
No.
Well, we've had a bit of a drought this year, and there are going to be some dry weeks. So we're going to have to keep it on streaming, and entirely on Netflix, and entirely on next Friday, November the 13th, of which there are 3 movies coming out that we're going to talk about for a few minutes as we round off the show this week. The first is The Life Ahead. Now, this seems to have crept out of nowhere. This stars Sophia Loren.
Oh, wow.
So Sophia, yeah. So, and it's literally being marketed as the legendary Sophia Loren returns.
Wow.
Okay, that is how you do it. Okay, I'm interested. So she is a Holocaust survivor who takes in a sort of streetwise urchin, a sort of like little, hoodlum. And it's basically like The Blind Side with the, Holocaust survivor and a little black kid. I'm like, that sounds great. Count me in.
Yeah, and she's 86 years old, guys. She's 86. That's incredible. No retiring from there. That's well worth a watch. I can't wait for that.
Exactly. So that is out. That's a subtitled one, obviously. That is out on Friday, November the 13th. As I say, all of these movies are. But that is the legendary Sophia Loren returning. So that'll be, I think that's worth a look in. That'll get some imaginary water cooler. What do we have? What's water cooler talk in the age of lockdown?
Impromptu Zoom chat.
WhatsApp thread?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up on the Zoom call?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A WhatsApp group? Don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think, oh God, we're all going to have to start Zooming again, aren't we? Anyway, So also out on that day, because obviously, as we've proven with the street cat named Bob this week, it is the time to start watching Christmas movies, apparently. So we've got one of Netflix's originals for the year. It is Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey.
Wow.
This is like an all-star cast, an all-star African-American cast, predominantly centering around Forrest Whitaker, who is a sort of shopkeeper/inventor type, who's basically facing poverty at Christmas and needs his one great invention to survive, and he's just going to get around to finishing it. And basically his rival, played by Keegan-Michael Key, comes on. This is all captured quite Tim Burton-esquely, if you can imagine that, but sort of brightly paleted. And it is an adventure about his rival, Keegan-Michael Key, basically trying to steal this creature who is cutesy and little and golden, and I think has a requisitely cutesy name that I've forgotten, but it's in the clip.
If I know anything about your grandfather, there's something sensational in that.
Whoa! I'm actually flying!
If I have that toy,
I'll be unstoppable. It's foolproof.
You are proof that there are fools. Fools, 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 fools.
This is the only place where I've ever been where I finally felt like I belong. We have to get Buddy back.
Now, for anyone who might be thinking that this is referring to something completely different, the word jingle jangle is used in another Netflix show called Riverdale, and it is the drug. Yeah, it's the name of the most prevalent drug that is referenced in Riverside, used by the Southside Serpents. So any Riverdale fan watching this are going to think it's a completely different movie.
Wait, you're telling me that Riverdale has joined the likes of Arrow and Beverly Hills 90210 in the esteemed ranks of inventing their own street drug? Because I love it when they do that.
Yeah, they 100% have. So
was it Euphoria on 90210? Like the kids were addicted to Euphoria?
Totally addicted to it. But that I'm just thinking, just as a caveat for anyone listening who also is an avid fan of Riverdale, you may be thinking that this Christmas journey is something completely different.
I don't think there's going to be much crossover somehow between the audience for this very obviously aimed at specifically African-American children, I would think. Christmas movie would happen with Riverdale. I don't think that would be there. It looks like a decent amount of fun as well. I like quite a lot of the cast. I'm always happy to watch Keegan-Michael Key in anything, and it looks like he's getting the chance to do that very broad camp villain thing that he does here. Seeing Forrest Whitaker being the requisitely kindly old man figure as well. Got a lot of time for that. I mean, I like it when he gets a bit more Rogue One style bonkers, but I've got a little time for this too. Looking forward to it. Just looks like a lot of fun. I think Felicia Rashad, is in there as well.
Oh, I love Felicia Rashad. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so then moving on, we have one more offering from Netflix. And Netflix, as you can imagine, will be keeping you chilled next Friday. The Minions of Midas, available again next Friday.
Well, I did think that Universal had finally gone nuts and released another animated film to streaming for a second there, but this is not a Minions spin-off. It's just called The Minions of Midas. It means Minions in the actual other sense. So this is a sort of a foreign language, I guess a sort of Spanish language thriller. It's called Los Favoritos de Midas in its original. It's an adaptation of Jack London's short story. It's been made into a 6-part series about this rich businessman who is blackmailed by a sinister organization remotely and told if he doesn't pay certain blackmail payments at certain times, a random person will die. It doesn't necessarily have to be anyone close to him or in his life, just a random person in the world will be killed if he doesn't make scheduled payments like €50 on a specific time and place, like 2 weeks in the future. Wow. And there starts this frenzied police investigation to try and get to the bottom of it in advance. It's a lot like the movie The Watcher, only it's not terrible.
Good to know. That's what I'd say about that. If you're going to do a comparison, it's always good to give that little caveat.
It breaks my heart to say that about a movie that stars Keanu and James Spader, but I just got to say it's like The Watcher, but not terrible. Anyway, it stars Luis Tosar, who is one of those sort of foreign language faces that he's that guy from that thing, he turns out he's been in like 4 foreign language films that you absolutely love, but you just don't remember them offhand. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Very serious face, but the trailer's a lot of fun, I can say that much.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, there you go. You got your Netflix sorting you out on streaming next week. So if you're looking for new things to watch, Friday the 13th of November. Oh, it's Friday the 13th. Oh, how have they not re-released, said movies on those days? Know. What a trick that is missed. That is your roundup. That is your 7-day guide to everything movies, ladies and gents. We have rounded you up for another week, sorted you out for Lockdown 2.0, at least in week 1. We'll be back next week with more brilliant movies for you guys to watch, whichever way you fancy watching it. So for now, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.